Technology is not neutral. It shapes our culture and ultimately our minds, making us more distant from true reflection. Is entertainment designed to enrich our minds, actually reducing the complexity of our thinking? What if what we call leisure is gradually eroding our ability to question and reflect? Perhaps it's time to take a closer look at what disconnects us, evaluating its impact not only on our lives, but also on who we are becoming as individuals and as a society. If you stay with me until the end, you'll learn to recognize the signs of how entertainment shapes your mind. More importantly, you'll discover ways to reverse this impact before it's too late. The intellectual and cultural decline we face is intrinsically tied to our dependence on entertainment. Neil Postman, an educator, media theorist, and cultural critic, explores this issue compellingly in his 1985 book, Amusing Ourselves to Death. In it, he examines how television has influenced society, turning our cultural experiences into something shallow, driven by the allure of spectacle. Postman argues that fundamental areas such as politics, religion, education, sports, and even commerce have been reshaped into extensions of entertainment, a process that occurred with little resistance or collective reflection. The result? A distracted society whose capacity for critical thinking has been severely compromised. He warns us about something often overlooked. Technology is never neutral. Whenever a new technology is introduced, it brings inevitable social changes. Assuming its effects are solely positive is a dangerous mistake. According to Postman, television has not only shaped the way we think, but also redefined how we interact with the world, profoundly altering our perception of reality. When we fail to question the impact of a technology, we become blind to the cultural transformations it triggers. He asserts that our understanding of the world is largely mediated by the communication tools we use. Concepts such as intelligence, motivation, and ideology are not perceived objectively, but through the mediums and languages we use to process reality. Postman reminds us that media function as metaphors. They don't just reflect, but also create the content of our culture. Therefore, understanding a society requires paying attention to its media. At the time he wrote the book, television dominated this dynamic, taking on the role of architect of the new cultural era. He warns, it's not just what we consume, but how we consume that determines who we are as a society. Television, by its nature, transcends borders, social classes, and generations, becoming a convergence point for what shapes our collective consciousness. Any topic of public interest inevitably passes through the filter of television. The problem? Television, instead of inviting us to reflect deeply, puts us in a passive position. While reading demands attention and intellectual effort, watching television simplifies learning, often at the expense of analytical thinking. Postman compares reading to television, arguing that reading, with its demand for introspection and focus, provides us with tools to understand complex concepts and develop a deeper worldview. It challenges our intelligence, enabling us to construct ideas and abstract reasoning without the aid of images. Television, on the other hand, turns the acquisition of knowledge into something predominantly visual and entertainment-oriented. While television has democratized access to information, it has also simplified it, transforming it into spectacle. This simplification dilutes the depth of topics, making it harder to grasp important issues. Instead of meaningful debates, we see superficial discussions shaped by celebrities and advertising. Even the concept of being well-informed has been distorted, creating a false sense of knowledge as we are inundated with disconnected fragments of information. This cultural transformation has brought alarming consequences. Before television, public figures were remembered for their ideas and speeches. Today, they are recognized for their image. This shift reflects how television has reshaped our perception, prioritizing appearance over content. This obsession with spectacle threatens not only intellectual culture, but also redefines our interactions, priorities, and values. By treating information as pure entertainment, we risk losing our ability to think critically and understand the world in depth. Politics, for instance, has turned into spectacle where a candidate's appearance matters more than their ideas. Even religion, with its symbolic and spiritual richness, has been reduced to simplified entertainment devoid of sacredness. Postman draws a comparison between the dystopias of George Orwell and Aldous Huxley. While Orwell feared a society oppressed by censorship, Huxley warned of a culture anesthetized by pleasure. Postman believes Huxley was the more prophetic. We live in a world where entertainment dominates, silently eroding our capacity for reflection. The danger, he argues, lies not only in excessive fun, but in our inability to recognize how much it distances us from who we truly are. In the end, Postman leaves us with an essential question. Are we consuming distractions or connecting with knowledge that transforms? He invites us to reclaim the ability to question, understand, and think deeply. Great changes begin with those who dare to reflect beyond what is presented to them. Let this be the start of a transformation, a spark to inspire you and others to recover the essence of critical thinking in a world saturated with superficiality. Expanding Neil Postman's analysis in Amusing Ourselves to Death, it becomes essential to observe how the effects he described have not only solidified, but intensified with the advent of new technologies and communication platforms. The rise of the internet and social media, for instance, has magnified the dynamics of superficiality and spectacle Postman attributed to television. While television was the cultural epicenter in his time, today we live in a world where countless platforms compete for our attention, further fragmenting our focus and deepening the shallowness of the information we consume. Social media platforms like photo sharing networks, short video platforms, and microblogging sites exemplify how entertainment has woven into daily life, turning even serious issues into consumable content. Important news is reduced to brief headlines and viral clips. Visual appeal, instant humor, and quick emotional rewards have become the criteria for determining what grabs attention, while depth and reflection have been pushed aside. In this context, Postman's maxim about entertainment as a cultural mediator becomes even more relevant. Social media platforms transform every user into a content producer, driven by engagement metrics, likes, shares, and views. This creates a vicious cycle where we prioritize what is most palatable, fastest, and emotionally stimulating. The result? A society even more distracted and disconnected from critical reflection, consuming content as a continuous stream of fleeting pleasures, unable to delve into complex ideas. Moreover, The rise of artificial intelligence and recommendation algorithms has amplified the ability to shape our preferences and thoughts. Unlike television, which acted as a one-way cultural force, digital platforms create personalized information bubbles. Each individual is exposed to content that reinforces their pre-existing beliefs, limiting exposure to opposing ideas and undermining the ability to engage in constructive dialogue and debate. Postman warned about the dangers of passively accepting the impact of technology. Today, we face a scenario where we not only accept, but often ignore how these tools redefine our perception of reality. Entertainment and identity in the digital age. Another layer worth exploring is the relationship between entertainment and identity. While Postman argued that television shaped our collective worldview, social media has added a personal dimension, the curation of our individual identities. In the digital environment, we are encouraged to present ourselves as brands, idealized versions competing for validation from others. This dynamic influences not only how we consume content, but also how we view ourselves and relate to others. The impact on mental health, particularly among young people, is alarming, with rising levels of anxiety, depression, and an incessant quest for social approval. The transformation of fundamental institutions. Entertainment continues to reshape fundamental institutions. Politics, already transformed into spectacle in the television era, has now become dominated by polarized narratives and digital marketing strategies. Modern political campaigns rely on memes, short videos, and emotional slogans that oversimplify complex issues to appeal to the widest audience possible. As Postman warned, the substance of ideas has been replaced by the effectiveness of presentation, turning political leaders into celebrities rather than statespeople. Education has also been significantly impacted. The growing reliance on digital technologies in classrooms, often promoted as innovation, risks replicating the same issues Postman highlighted. Rather than fostering introspection and critical thinking, many digital educational tools prioritize superficial interactivity and instant gratification. While they offer broader access to resources, they can paradoxically limit deep learning if used without careful pedagogical reflection. A call for conscious engagement. In this landscape, Postman's call to reclaim our capacity for critical thinking is more urgent than ever. We must not only recognize the impacts of entertainment in our lives, but also strive to balance its presence with practices that nurture introspection and meaningful learning. This includes reviving the habit of reading as a transformative act, creating spaces for genuine and intentional dialogue, and, above all, cultivating a conscious relationship with technology. We must ask ourselves, how can we reclaim control over the tools we use rather than being shaped by them? How can we strike a balance between the accessibility of information and the depth of understanding necessary to build a more reflective and responsible society? Postman's message transcends his time, offering not just a critique, but an invitation. He challenges us not only to consume, but to question, not only to react, but to reflect. The world today, more than ever, needs thinkers who can rise above distractions and superficialities, reclaiming the essence of what it means to be human in a time of uncertainty and rapid change. May this call to reflection serve as the foundation for building a more conscious future, one rooted in the pursuit of what truly matters.